All right, I hope you've been having fun playing around with the material editor, trying to assign different materials or adjust the material settings and then saving them as new materials. So in this video, we're going to look at inserting people, trees, and ultimately setting the views for rendering. So if you go to Lumion live sync here, stop the live sync and then restart the live sync, you'll see how the views then become synchronized. And to insert people and trees, we want to go to this icon right here. It says objects, and then when you double click on it, you will see how there's all kinds of objects you can insert. You can insert a model actually in Rhino's native format. And then here we actually want to insert people. Animals also fall within the same category. So let's look for some people that are swimming. So let's go to men. And then there's a guy swimming here. So you click on it, just one click, and then just find a place where you think it looks good, and then click again. Then it's going to trigger another guy. If you don't want the same object to be inserted multiple times, it's handy when you have trees and you want to insert multiple trees. You can just simply go back here and navigate to the next object that you would like to insert. So let's find a woman swimming. Here's a woman swimming. So maybe we put her here, and maybe you think it will look better to see her face somehow. So what we can do is to click on the select tool here and click on her. Actually, this allows us to move her left and right and kind of freely. Maybe you want to put her in the foreground and so on. And if you want to rotate her, you can click rotate here. It's going to allow you to rotate her like that. But our view just kind of got zoomed out because we were inserting people sort of outside of that view that we had before. So usually it's better to be more careful about inserting objects, because you don't want to have a bunch of objects outside of your views. They're just going to clutter your file, make it too big, and it's going to slow down your computer. So, but it's okay. We can move them by selecting them. And then there's that little circle right there. You know, you see the arrows. The arrows are going to allow us to kind of move them. Same with this guy. Click on that circle, and with the arrows activated, we can move him as well. And then we can just kind of stop the live sync for a moment and restart it. So now it allows us to kind of see, oh, now the two of them also are in the foreground. So now they're kind of right there. Now let's click on this people object again and see if we can find a boy that's sitting down. So here's a boy sitting down. We can hide that menu, and then drag this boy right here. And then we want to rotate him. There he is. Okay, so he's rotated. Now let's look at inserting trees. So click on this nature button right here, and then we can navigate. It tells you what kind of species they are. So then once you pick one you like, you can just kind of insert them like that. Maybe we insert something back here. So it's usually better if we insert trees in the background and people in the foreground. It's going to provide more depth to your perspectives. So if it's all good, or if you don't like it, let's just say you don't like this tree right here, you can select it and then click on this trash can right here, and then it's going to trigger this confirmation box. If you really want to delete it, then click on this box, then it's gone. So now let's just go back and look at this view right here. And then if you click on the photo icon right here, it's going to allow you to capture that view. So you can capture this view by clicking on the store camera icon right here. And then if you are, unhappy with the way the sky and the sun, because it looks kind of flat, you can go back to the rendering mode by clicking on this build icon right here. And then we can go to this weather setting here, turn on the real sky. It's going to slow down your computer, but it's going to make it look a lot better. So, and then once you've got that, see if you want to adjust the view again. And then go to the photo here. Let's just see if it will let me adjust the view again. Oh yeah, there you go. So this is where we should be adjusting views. Otherwise, it keeps getting bumped out. And then if you click on the store camera again, and then it's really going to capture that view. So same here. We can actually go to the above eye level view that we set before. And then you can see how it's synced up with this view right here. So we can keep going to the right and store it in a camera. And we can also change the focal length. You can see how the shorter the focal length is, the wider lens we have. So we can also zoom in if you just wheel your mouse forward, zoom in, and it doesn't change the focal length of the camera. So usually when it goes below 24, let's just say it's unusual, it's more like the fish lens is distorted, but some people might like that dramatic view. So Zaha Hadid's early work tends to be rendered with this kind of really, really short focal length, so you can accentuate the length of her objects. And then typically we will use something like 35, something between 24 and 35 is more typical. And usually you might see a default around 35, and 50 will become kind of flat. Usually we try not to go above 50. That should be kind of the upper limit. So now it kind of shows more of the scene, and then we can also change the eye level. So I mentioned how it's kind of harder to control the eye level in Lumion. You were moving up and down, to be able to. So by increasing and decreasing the eye level, you're able to see. Maybe when we lift up a bit more, we'll see more of the side. But in this case, we don't know exactly where the camera is, so it's easier to just set it up in Rhino, so you know exactly where the camera is, and you know exactly where your target is. So if this is good for you, you can just capture that as a different view. So ultimately, when we set up all these frames, we can actually build a movie, and then the camera is going to fly from one location to another to create an animation. But in our case, we are not interested in doing that because some of you might not have a fast computer. But before we export the views, we want to check to make sure that we select the realistic style, with the real skies, and we can also adjust the reflection and sharpen it and adjust the exposure. The exposure seems a bit too much, so that looks good. So now we can then say render these photos. So if you're not making an animation, you don't need to click on this movie icon here. You can click on the green button here that says render photo. So when you click on that, it's going to ask you what resolution you want. So if you are thinking about printing this big as a poster, let me just enlarge this a bit further. So there's the highest resolution option on the right hand side. It says poster. But for those of you with slow computers, you might, this email option is good enough. So right now you can just click on email, and then it's gonna allow you to type in the name of the perspective. I experimented with a night view before, and then just say save, just say okay. All right, and hit OK. So you can just go through these and save them one by one. Like this one, you can click on that and save it. And then just say HW6 pool, and then just say save and hit OK. All right, so for this assignment, we just need an eye level view like this one, and then above eye level view. And then when you're done, make sure you save your file. Save as. You can name it as, HW6, and then underscore your name, and then say save. All right, so for those of you who do not have a fast computer, we're going to talk about other ways of navigating around not being able to do everything in Lumion. But I think if you set your resolution and editing quality low, you should be able to at least play around with one structure and one surface. So basically, you might not be using all the objects. Just pick one structure and one surface right next to it to make your file really small. That way you'll get to experience what it's like to be working in Rhino and Lumion simultaneously. All right, I will see you in the next video.